Hello guys, welcome to Redditor's Revenge. Here we post amazing revenge stories daily. And if you want more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and stay tuned with us. Moving on to our today's story. Hey everyone, I decided to share my story. It all took place 17 years ago. At that time I was 20 years old and dated my first true love. We had been together for 1.5 years already and everything was just great. Her mother liked me and she had her own company which traded fashion clothes for kids. She made a ton of money. They needed someone to drive one of their 3.5T truck and she came up with the idea to hire me because I was unhappy with the job I had. So as a win-win situation, I accepted her offer and we started working together. The job was okay, even though I had to work a huge amount of overtime, because she thoroughly introduced me to how the whole company worked. She had a huge storage facility, a store, and 2 trucks, one that I drove and a big one. I worked for her like 1 year and during that time I knew every single thing about the company because she trusted me with also the dirty secrets. This later came in handy. This is where things took a huge turn. I found out that my girlfriend cheated on me with her ex, and as a result, I broke up with her instantly. It was an ugly situation. And after it went down I called her mother and told her what was going on and that I don't want to mix things with business, so I will still be there for work, even though I don't want to see her daughter again. She said everything is alright, but of course, she sided with her daughter and I felt that she is mad at me because of the breakup. I went to work and acted as a professional should, taking all the drama aside. However, soon after she singled me out and started looking for mistakes so she can discipline me. This has been going on for months and I realized she just waiting for an excuse to fire me, but I wasn't gonna give that reason to her that easily. She was pissed that she couldn't find big mistakes and the small ones she often just made up were not enough to terminate me. So she came up with a plan. On the truck we had a power generator that provided light and power for the laptop, printer, and so on. It worked in 2 ways, with fuel when we were on the road and with cable in case we were at the storage. But it was not made by a company, they just hired an electrician for that and he made an error, so we had to flip a switch all the time if we used it with a cable connection, otherwise it would burn down. As I loaded the truck she convinced a co-worker to flip the switch back, and after a few minutes the lights were gone and I noticed something wrong. It burned out of course, but I knew I didn't forget the switch cause I was loaded on the truck for an hour, and it only took 5 minutes tops to burn out, so it couldn't be me. She didn't even hear me out, started yelling, fired me on the spot, and stated that she gonna pay the repairs out of my last salary, so don't expect any money from her. I didn't take that lightly and told her that I don't think you wanna go this way with me, but she refused to listen. It took a few days for me to cool down, but I wanted to give her a last chance. I called her and told her even though I know what was going on and she did set me up, if I get my money, I will call it an end, and we don't have to see each other again. She told me to duck off, so I came up with a plan. First, because I knew that the store she had didn't have a bathroom, which was illegal in my country, the shop assistants had an agreement with a restaurant on the opposite side to go there if they needed one. So I reported this to the authorities and the next day they closed the shop because of this violation and told her she can't open up until they have a bathroom. She called me right away and asked me if I have anything to do with this. I laughed and told her, "Didn't I tell you that you don't want to go this way with me?" and hung up. I knew that we worked so much overtime that I and the other truck driver had so much overdrive on the taco cards. It records how many hours you drive and how fast and when you stopped, so I called the authorities again and told them everything. They went and checked all the records and gave the company a brutal fine. She sent me obscene text messages all day long after that. I replied, "Ain't done yet." Then silence. A few hours went by and my phone rang. She called and asked me if we can talk it over. She even said she sent me my last paycheck, but I shut her down immediately and told her too late for that. And I called the fire department and told them that the wires they had in the walls of the store were outdated, which caused short circuits daily, and that they only have 2 fire extinguishers for the whole place when they should have like 12 to 15. On that very day, they had to close the storage as well, so she lost the last place where she could make money for months until they get everything up to date and renew all the wires, which cost a huge amount of money. Because of the fines she got from the different authorities, she couldn't afford these renovations of the course. A few months later she filed for bankruptcy. I know because my ex-girlfriend called me, "I hope you're a happy a hole, you made my family bankrupt." I never got my paycheck, but at that point, I didn't even care anymore. I was happy with the outcome. I hope you enjoyed my story. Update. So after a few months, the tax department, or as some of you know it, IRS, took almost everything from her. Store, stuff, storage, trucks, the whole 9 yards. She got so many fines from different authorities she could not pay them. So after everything was gone, she sold her house, moved to a smaller apartment, and never owned a business again. As far as I know, she works in a store as a clerk, and things not looking good. My ex-girlfriend, well, she married the next guy and now they have 4 kids. After the second child, she let herself go, and now I'm happy that I didn't have a child from her. I'm not gonna fat shame her, but damn, at least they are still together, so maybe, just maybe, she learned a lesson and did not cheat on him. Or so I hope. About me, I had a long relationship after her. My son was born, but she was a lazy-ass gold digger, so after 5 years we separated. I met the love of my life after that, and after almost 9 years we are still happy together. She also got out of a terrible relationship, abuse and domestic violence, so she truly appreciates me and vice versa. I love her to death. Now, here is the end of our first story, and I hope you guys are enjoying my content. So before moving to the next story, you can share your thought about OP's arrogant soon-to-be mother-in-law. And if you had an encounter with such people in your life, you can share it in the comments section. Also, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more revenge stories. Now, moving to our second story. This one is a double government employee event, and what you should know is if you get the attention of a government employee and make them angry, they will make your life a living hell. Sorry, this is a long one. The setup is that I was working for a local county government in the permitting department that handled drainage and floodplain enforcement. I received a complaint from a homeowner, a nice guy who lived next door to a house that was part of an incorporated village, a bad guy. The nice guy lived in an unincorporated portion of the county, and hence the call to me as an agent of the county. I drove out to the site to investigate and discovered some interesting facts. The permitting agent for the village allowed the incorporated homeowner to fill his lot, affecting the drainage, which caused the unincorporated lot to flood every time there was anything more than light rain. The nice guy indicated that there was some tension between him and a bad guy, and part of the issue was that the nice guy and his partner were a gay couple. This ran up a red flag for me, but in trying to be impartial, I took the information and some photos for the file, and indicated that I would contact the village to find a resolution. I wrote a letter and then called the village inspector to discuss. I was told by the jackwagon that the village could do as it pleased and that I could do nothing to stop a bad guy from doing as they pleased, as it was approved by the village. There was then a comment about those types of people, the gay couples, making complaints just to cause trouble. I was now on the case, and it was time to make sure everything done on the incorporated lot was 100% legal. At this point, the game certainly was now on, because if there is one thing that grinds my gears, it is bullying. I went back out and spoke to a nice guy to let them know what I was up to, and also that I was not going to let this slide. I then started investigating the elevations on the 2 lots and what fill had been placed on the incorporated lot. The not nice guy came out and started getting belligerent about my presence and ongoing investigation. He incorrectly stated that I did not have jurisdiction over his lot and that he would be calling the police. I patiently listened and then pulled out my 2-way radio and requested that the home base dispatch both a village and a county police unit to the location. I then indicated that since there was a regulatory floodplain on his lot, I did have jurisdiction, and that I would be exercising my right to determine the impact of his fill activities upon that floodplain. Both of the police units showed up and I let them know what was going on. They were both appropriately agitated to have to waste their time, and let a bad guy know that I was within my authority to proceed with the investigation. A little while later, while I was measuring things, Jackwagon showed up. He started berating me about harassing the village resident, and threatening to call my boss and file a complaint and so forth. I invited him to do so, quoting which parts of the code he should indicate I was violating. I was using marking paint to show the limits of the floodplain for the photos for the file. And what do you know, Jackwagon's shoe got painted when he tried to stop me. He was even angry, as was the homeowner, due to the very bright orange paint in the grass in his yard. I pointed out I had done the same on the neighboring lots, but they just kept complaining. It was marking chalk that comes off pretty easily. Interestingly, I found 2 wrong things on the bad guy's lot. There was fill placed in the floodplain, and a garden shed was built on the fill and partially within the floodplain. Both are a big no-no and are actually against federal law. So, the course of action had two parts. Number 1, make the incorporated homeowner remove the fill and shed from the floodplain, and number 2, let nice guy place fill in their lot outside of the floodplain to counteract the fill remaining in not nice guy's lot outside of the floodplain. I also told the nice guy it would be a good idea to run a field tile on their side to drain the water that would inevitably pond up between the two lots when it rained. Predictably, the bad guy and Jackwagon got super angry when I sent the letter out that there were violations that either had to be corrected, remove fill and shed, or apply for a revision of the floodplain with the Army Corps of Engineers. This then led to a meeting at the county office with a not nice guy, Jackwagon, my supervisor, and myself. Quickly things went to 11 and there was yelling by the Jackwagon about the abuse of power, etc. The department head came into the conference room and told them both they were wrong and that they should leave peacefully and comply or face the consequences. The best part was that no bad guy had to apply for a permit, and guess who was the one to review and approve it? That's right, yours truly. Now, I was following the letter of the law, but you have to know that poor government workers are underpaid and overworked. Strangely, the permit for the nice guy was almost immediately approved, while the bad guy had to have a very thorough review to ensure it was correct. You could make a case I was abusing my power, but I can assure you that the timing for their review was well within acceptable limits. Also, how could I be held to account that they misfiled 3 times before they finally got it right? Generally, if you behaved like a civil human and came to the office, we would help you get things done properly. So the permit would go through the first time, but the bad guy decided he could do it all on his own, so it took him 3 tries. Had he come to the office, I would have given him the same service as others, but he decided to take the hard route, and therefore I didn't give a single inch when it came to the submission being perfectly correct. Ultimately, the situation was resolved, but it took a lot more effort than it should have. Moral of the story: don't be an entitled homophobic a-hole. Now, here is the end of our second story, and I hope you enjoyed the revenge OP took on that homophobic a-hole. Guys, before moving to the final story, I want to hear your thought about this story in the comments section. And do you like the revenge OP took on that bastard for harassing others? Now, moving to our final story. I used to live in a rental townhome. The place was great. It was run by a big company, but they paid an on-site super to run the office, coordinate repairs, etc. When I moved in, it was this nice older retired couple. A few years later they moved on and the company hired these 2 young dudes. They were assholes. Recent college grads who looked down on the blue-collar tenants, did loud parties all night, generally ignored the grounds, ignored maintenance requests, etc. But that's not how I got them arrested. In addition to renting the townhouse, you could rent a covered spot. If you did, they gave you a hang tag, and if you didn't have the hang tag, you'd get towed. I had the same car, same spot, and same tag the whole time I lived there. One day I come out and my car is gone. It was towed for no hang tag, but in the pictures the tow company took it's there. I paid to get it out and complained to the 2 idiots. They had to call to authorize a tow. The company couldn't just do it on its own. They gave me a half-assed apology. About a week later, same problem. Again, towed for no tag. Again, the tag's right there. This time I called the corporate office and complained. After that, it started happening nearly every day. When I'd talk to the supers about it, they'd just laugh. I knew they were doing it on purpose, so I did some research. The tow company gave me the names of the people who called it in, and it was mostly one guy but some the other. The tow company wasn't liable because the landlords had called them, so that was out. But I did some research and found out that in my state, calling for a tow, when you know it's not a legal tow, is grand theft auto, just like if you broke into a car. I also found out you can record conversations in my state without telling the other person. So I went in to meet the 2 bros to talk about the situation. They told me that the first 2 times were mistakes, but after that, they did it on purpose and would keep doing so until I learned my lesson. They stated that they knew I was okay to park there, but they didn't care. I took that recording and the list of calls to a buddy who's an attorney, and he helped me take it to the local police. Police were more than happy to have a couple of felony charges dropped into their laps, so they filed charges and went to arrest them. Corporate fired them the same day, refunded all of my fees for getting my car out of hock, and gave me a rental discount for a few months. They both ended up eating the felony and got probation. Last I heard, they weren't able to find decent jobs because of the felonies and also couldn't pay their student loans. Both ended up working construction, which they'd sneered at because that's all they had left. Now, that concludes our video for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Guys, let me know what's your opinion about this story, and you can also share your stories about you're a whole landlord in the comments section. So before leaving, please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel to stay tuned with us for more awesome stories.